Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt here with Louis D'Souza and Astrid Kaufman. Today is Monday, September the 30th, 2019. It's 4 p.m. New York time. That's 1 p.m. in Los Angeles and 9 p.m. in London. That would make it 5 a.m. in Tokyo and 6 a.m. in Sydney, Australia. But wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And today is all about perspective. That's what we decided on exactly 1 minute ago. And so this is a deeply thought out topic, and we're just going to run with it and see where we can go with it. But the good news is you can count on the fact that we're going to have story time today. Stories are always fun. So we don't know what the stories are. Louis is going to share them with us in a short while. But stories are one of the things that our listeners like the most. So thank you, Louis, for volunteering to bring in some stories. We appreciate
No problem, Walt.
And how are you guys doing over there in the UK? Everything is just fine, I presume, over in
It's
UK
wet.
land?
It's very wet. See my
It's
hair?
wet?
It goes
my
curly
goodness.
when it's wet.
So we
And
have the
Louis
barometer.
Louis had it all cut off, so...
Everything's irie.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, it's nice to know that, your hair can be sort of a barometer of change in the weather. That's handy.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So, and I'm being joined by another hairy person over here who likes to
Oh,
climb
yes.
periodically. I think she's trying to get my attention, but that's okay. We'll just let her continue to do that. But anyway, perspective. You were the one who came up with that idea off the top of your head, Astrid, just a few moments ago, and I was wondering if there was anything in particular that kind of drew that to your attention, or did it just come to you, or what was that?
Well, it was as I was making dinner tonight. It was something very mundane. As I was making dinner tonight, I have this Himalayan salt grinder, and it's a great grinder. And I've come to the end of the salt, so I wanted to use it again. Right? I wanted to put some more salt in and use the grinder again, and I couldn't get the damn top off. I just couldn't get I just couldn't get it off. I turned it and then I put a knife to it and I just couldn't get it off, right? So I said this to Anthony, my husband, and I said, could you have a go with it? Because I think it's just ridiculous to not be able to use it again. So within 2 seconds, he's taken it off and he says, yeah, you just unscrew it. How did that happen? I mean, I'm not stupid. Yeah, but I was trying to unscrew the top, and you have to unscrew the bottom. Anyway, it was all a matter of perspective. I was just caught in this loop, looking at something from the same perspective. And when you do that, you just get the same results. Okay.
Isn't it funny how that works? You get the same results by having the same perspective. How do you believe that? I tell you.
So how do you get a different perspective? You can ask someone else for a different perspective. So that's one way of doing it. But if you don't have someone else, to give you a different perspective, how can you change your perspective? And, there are different ways to do that. So law of attraction is one, and Jinshinjutsu is another. And, so that was kind of what led to that big word. I was like, I'm going to tell that story.
Good story. That's a great start to our storytelling. I love that. Very good. Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right. Probably the best source for a new perspective is someone else, because we all have different perspectives, which is one of the wonderful things about being here in this crazy life we're in. At least that's the way I look at it.
Well, what's that saying, Walt? Something like, if you... The sign of an idiot is somebody who does the same thing again and again and expects a different result.
Expects a different result, right? Otherwise known as insanity.
Exactly. Yes. I was just going to say insanity. Yeah. Yes.
And that's exactly what it is.
Absolutely.
Which means there's value in changing our perspective over time, which was the main point that was made in the book that you and I reviewed over the summer anyway, Richard Bach's Illusions.
Illusions, yeah.
Lovely book.
Many people haven't read that book, interestingly enough, in law of attraction circles. I think more people should. I think you agree. More people should read it. But that was one of his points from the book within the book, the Messiah's Handbook, as it was described in the story. Perspective: use it or lose it. And I don't know that that's actually made it into the mass consciousness as a phrase, but it's certainly in our consciousness, yours and mine, and I think
absolutely
as well. Yeah, and it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, that perspective's everything.
So one thing you learn from Abram is about perspective is what you want to do is raise your vibration, so get into the happy place. Mm-hmm. And when you're in a happy place, you tend to make better decisions. So, you can stand there frustrated trying to get the lid off your salt, or you can get into a happy place and look at it again,
Or you can hand it off to your husband. I mean, any of those are options, really.
Well, it depends if their vibration is higher or lower.
Well, I didn't say you're going to get a result that you liked.
It also depends on the job at hand,
This is
the job that needs to be done. But I think when we've got, say, a big decision to make in our lives, and we have, we're coming from it from a certain perspective, and we're just stuck with it. Sometimes it's just a good idea to go and distract yourself, just go and have fun or do something completely different. Just change your focus. And very often it's when we relax the mind and we just stop thinking about something that all of a sudden we can get an answer. And it's, because the more we try, the more we effort, the less it's going to come to us, the less we're going to feel that we can get an answer to whatever is going on.
And kind of along that same line, I've been spending a fair amount of time lately focusing on a little affirmation that came out of Neville Goddard that Sidney Chavez and I like a lot. It came from another story told by one of his followers, and it was an affirmation she used and produced some amazing results out of it. The affirmation was, "Isn't it wonderful? Something marvelous is happening to me now." And just by refocusing on that periodically throughout my day, I'm finding that my perspective is literally changing because I am now seeing things differently every time I say that phrase. So I could be, maybe I could be on the beginning of a slow downward negative spiral into something I don't like much. I say that phrase, it kind of breaks the spiral quickly, and I take just a moment to focus on, I got that negative spiral going on, but on the other hand, it's a gorgeous day here because our weather has been gorgeous today, absolutely beautiful. And, we got that blue sky and everything is just bathed in light. It's just beautiful. And just like that, my whole perspective changed. So that perspective is huge. I mean, Richard was right. Richard Bach was absolutely right. Use it or lose it, because if you don't use it, you're basically losing out on a great, great tool. So you were going to tell us a couple stories there, Louie. What was kind of spinning around in your head when the perspective topic?
I just wanted to go to your little saying there, Walt. Can you repeat it for our listeners?
Sure.
I can't remember it.
It's, isn't it wonderful? Something marvelous is happening to me now.
Right, okay, I like it. There's one I use a lot as well on a similar vein. It's, if not that, then something better.
Ah, okay.
And I find it fits into a lot of situations. So I'm going to work this little saying into some of the things I wanted to tell you. So a lot of things have just been falling in my lap for absolutely no apparent reason, besides me keeping a very positive and expecting, if not that, something better attitude continuously running. So we were thinking about our boiler, and it's really getting old and we need to replace it. And I was just saying, if not that, something better, something will happen. It'll be fine, So I walk into the kitchen. I'm in the study, and I hear this water dripping in the kitchen. It doesn't sound right. So I go there, and the boiler's dripping water all over the place.
No.
So I'm putting buckets underneath it and all the rest of it. And I phone up my insurance. It comes out, and he has a look at it, and he says, I'm going to have to replace the gubbins. The inside's got to come out, and I'm going to replace everything. So he works and works and works at it, and bang, he tells me when it's finished, you've pretty much got a brand new boiler. This will last another 15 years.
Right.
And I was like, wow, a free boiler. That would have cost a couple of thousand at least to replace. And now it's all done for free. And then, so I bought this new phone, Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus 5G. For those who are into those things, you will know what I mean. The rest of you, Apple guys, yeah.
Yeah.
What is it about people who own Android phones? They just feel like they have this need to beat on the heads of people like me who use the superior iPhone. Oh, wait a minute, I didn't mean to say that.
Yes, exactly, Walt. I agree. I don't know what it is.
Maybe it's that question that's always going on, does it?
It's a matter of perspective, you see.
Yes,
it really is.
Absolutely.
It really is.
So they did compare the latest Android phone, mine, and the latest, greatest Apple phone, and the only thing it's better at is the processor. So, yeah, that's okay. We'll move on swiftly. We'll have a lot of comments coming.
Oh, my God, they're pouring in.
That's one debate that's... goes. So I order it, and it wasn't the best deal, but I kind of wangled the best one I can. And I got the phone, and they said to me the deal was X when I thought it was Y. I'd agreed on Y. So I said, this is just not on. I just sent the phone back. And then I said to them, guys, I'm just going to cancel my whole contract. This is terrible. So they put me through the special department. Then they gave me this phone with no money down. They gave me unlimited minutes, text, data, absolutely the highest of everything. They brought down my internet by £8 because I've got my internet with my mobile phone company as well, my cell phone company. So they gave me £8 off that. They gave my wife's contract down as well. So in the end of the day, I got my new phone with all the bells and whistles, with everything, paying £6 less than I used to with my contract for the last 2 years.
Well, no wonder you like Android phones so much.
Not only that, they upgraded my router, and with the router upgrade, I get a free Alexa dot. You know these dots, you speak to these things.
Yes.
So we got one of those, which my daughter loves to bits, and they're all arguing with this Alexa to give them what they want. It's quite a lot of fun, but my daughter says to me, geez, you just organize things like nothing. It's just, they just happen. And, trying to think of all the other things that have happened recently. Oh, I had this nudge. Just go and have a look at your insurances. So, I've done my insurances not that long ago, made sure that I got the best deal. But by the time I was finished with every one of my insurance, I was £1,000 less paying than I was the previous year. And
nice.
It's like, oh my gosh. And, the deals haven't changed that much. It's just the law of attraction. You're now attracting and expecting something better. If not that, something better. Something better.
I like that.
And it's not only that. You're also getting, a lot of people would say, the other shoe's going to fall. Shoe's going to drop. Yeah. So that whole concept doesn't exist for me anymore. Because I am just expecting better and better and better. I'm not even, it doesn't even come into my consciousness that this can all fall apart now. Then the bubble's going to burst, and I'm going to go and have a hard time. And the importance about this whole conversation that I want to really bring up is the idea that, you continually focus on something even better. The universe hasn't even begun to give me everything that I want yet. It's only just starting. It's only just starting to trickle in. And as you keep on that focus going and going, just more and more things just fall in your lap all over the place. It's just, prizes here, I get this free and I get that, and it's all over the place, and it's just more and more.
And I think that's part of, when that happens, it's like a tipping point, because
it is.
It's a consistent, you've been working at this consistently, And if
Exactly.
not that, something better. It's part of you now. And then you find there is a tipping point there. You know, you're on the right track, man.
And
you really
boy, is
are.
it tipping. Just today, the window guy comes round, and we know we owe him for about 2 window cleanings. So we say to him, yeah, you know, we owe you. Can we give you the money? Oh, no, I've checked on my thing. You're actually paid up 2 times more. I was like, no, we're not. I double checked it. You are paid up. So I said, okay, I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue.
Wow.
I'm not going to argue. And then the creche, we're saying, you know, we owe you some money as well. No, it's all paid up. It's all paid up. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just like one thing after another. And it's like, okay, you know, I'm not going to argue. I'm just going to accept.
There are a number of things I like about those little vignette stories that you're telling of all these things that are just working out so nicely. But the first one that comes to my mind is you weren't asking for anything there. I mean, you've alluded to the fact that there are many things that haven't come that you would like to have come into your life, but that's not where your focus is at all. And that's where most people focus when they're trying to be creative.
Yeah.
And that's what limits. That's what limits, because the universe is there to give you something even more than you could ever imagine. But if you say, I want this, you're limiting what the universe can actually give you. So it's great. These are great stories of the universe providing even more than you could ever imagine.
And not that there's anything wrong with focusing on stuff that you want. I mean, you have stuff that you want too that has shown up. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that you don't make it your life.
Yeah. So the thing that I'm really pointing out to my wife when she said to me about the window cleaning, she said, I just can't believe this. I just can't believe this. I said to her, don't think like that, because that means you're not a vibrational match. Okay, a lot of people say that, I don't believe this. It's just too good to be true, you know, all those kind of statements. But that doesn't happen in my life anymore. I don't even think like it. It doesn't even appear, because I know there's just so much more and so much more. And I'm only focusing on that more. And, you know, it's just great. I just absolutely love it.
I think the appropriate response in that case is believe. Just believe.
Exactly. It's not even believing. It's just expecting now. I'm expecting.
Expect, yeah.
I'm expecting.
Well, expect is basically a very, very high level of belief. It's belief that's so confident and so solid that you don't even think about it as belief anymore. You just
Exactly.
It is.
You hit the nail on the head. You don't even think about it as belief. Because, you know, the word belief belies a concept of, you know, having to have faith and not really
doubt,
fully expecting it and you know, trusting instead of, I just know it's going to happen. I know it, you know. And it's glorious. It's just when you get to that stage, which is what anybody can get to when you study the law of attraction, you think about it and you're thinking about it in the correct way, and you're doing that as a lifestyle, not as a little study course or this or that. You're now living the law of, not the law of attraction, you're living the focus of what you want. And that's it. You just continually focus on what I want, focus on what I want, focus on what I want. And, you know, I'm just so excited because this is just the beginning, you know. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
You have every reason to be excited. So I'm going to turn you into a guru for a moment and let you tell everybody, okay, you went through a time where you weren't in this flow, where you were trying to get here, you were learning the way you described it just now as learning it the correct way. But during that time period, everything wasn't going the way it's going right now. So what was your strategy for getting into that alignment even though you weren't feeling it?
Well, the first thing you need to do is start a podcast and teach other people.
I'm glad to know that I got step one out of the way. That's good.
But as you know, Walt, I do that all day, every day. As I was mentioning to you the other day, the guy that changed my boiler, we had this long chat about Atlantis and Lemuria and Egypt and different powers and all the rest of it. I mean, this is just the guy who fixed my boiler, you know, and we were having this incredible, great conversation. Then the guy that came to look at refitting new carpets, he was saying, you know, we had about you're supposed to be about a 10-minute measuring a couple of rooms upstairs, but he landed up staying here for at least an hour and a half, and we were talking about expectation and getting what you want and manifestation and Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I'm one of my favorite books when it comes to understanding finance and moving forward. And that book changed my life. Anthony gave it to me, my brother. Giving him all these ideas and concepts, and he was lapping it up and so enjoying it. And, it just gives me a lot of satisfaction to see people really understanding what you're saying, asking for more, asking for clarity, getting it, and then building on that and going forward. And the strange thing is he hasn't come back with the quote, so I don't know. So, you don't know how the universe is going to work with everything. Maybe it's somebody else who was to go to, or he was just supposed to come for that day and that little lesson, or who knows. But, this is the thing about life is you don't really hold on to anything anymore. Okay, didn't give it to me, get another guy and see what happens. You can chase them up as well. There's a whole lot of parameters that you can do, but, I just go with what feels better. If getting a new quote from somebody else feels better, I'll do that. Maybe they need to have a chat with me too, So who knows? You just continue with what feels better. And it can go off in any direction, and you have no idea what's going to happen, but you're just focusing on, that feels better. If that's one thing people can just really get under their belt is trusting their emotional guidance. What feels better. And really, it takes a bit of practice. And, Walt, you were saying in the beginning I wasn't doing very well and all the rest of it. And that the first thing I didn't know, that were my emotions and my guidance. And I can't let almost anybody go from me chatting to them without them knowing that one gem. That is the gem. So, and then you need to understand it clearly enough to put it in practice. So, you're really getting it. Okay, so what should I say next to Walt here? Does this feel better or does that feel better? And eventually it's just flows and it flows and it flows and just goes from one step to another. And you're not even thinking about that question so much anymore, but it's integrally part of you now. Mm-hmm. All right. And then it's just a natural flowing.
It's like learning to drive a car.
Yeah,
it's that sort of going from a conscious sort of learning to an unconscious. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And then it just becomes part of you. So I think it is very much like learning to drive a car. You have to learn all the mechanics first, and then once you've learned that, then you can drive it without thinking. And I'm not talking about an automatic. I'm talking about a gear shift.
Manual shift. Oh my!
The thing I've been doing with my daughter is I'm saying, okay, you are going to tell me how to drive the car now. Tell me when to slow down, stop, indicate, do everything. So. The thing about driving is it's not so much just about a shift stick, as the Americans call it. It's about making decisions. Driving is about making decisions. And if you can make decisions quicker, you're safer. It's as simple as that. If you're really confident and can make decisions. So getting my daughter, even though she's not driving the car, just to say, stop, go, do this, do that. I think is a very good mental exercise, because as we know from Abraham Hicks, you need to get it right mentally first before you manifest it. So, yeah.
I have to say, I think I'm getting this interview skill down pat, because about halfway through your answer there, I was going to say, that was a wonderful answer, not the least of which because you didn't answer my question, but the answer you gave was a much better answer to a much better question. And then, before I even said that, you actually answered my question.
No, you're right. Okay.
I don't have to say anything. I'll just sit back and be very quiet. I'll just let you talk, because you did a brilliant job of just picking up on what I was vibrating to. It was wonderful.
Patience, my son. All will be revealed. Oh, dear.
But it was funny because, I kind of made a joke out of it, but it really was an experience of, here's what I'm focusing my attention on, and sure enough, you went there. Now, was I trying to influence you? Absolutely not. I was just thinking, okay, well, what could I do to get the conversation over to where I want it to be? And then it just went there.
And that's not trying to influence me?
Not in the way that, in one sense it is. In one sense it is, yes.
It is.
But in the sense of how we, in our roles as non-conscious creators, just stumbling around in the way that we stumbled around until we learned how law of attraction worked, from that perspective, yeah, it was. It was just, I hadn't actually said anything yet. And there you were going in the direction I needed you going.
Mm-hmm.
So was I consciously trying to do that? I guess in one sense I was. Certainly from a conscious creator perspective.
You did it very well, Walt. I picked it up nicely and it all flew.
and that's what's so beautiful about it. I think I really do. Now, this is my latest thing. I have a thing. I go through things periodically. I'll be on track for a bit because I like this particular track. And then I'll go to another track because I like that particular track. Well, my latest track is the belief that the biggest challenge that we face and the best thing we can do to really accelerate stuff for ourselves is to just notice what we're already manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest trick with what you were describing. You described a process under which, yes, you started off, manually trying to drive the car, and then over time you just learned to drive the car. And so now you do it unconsciously. You don't even think about all that stuff. You just make your decisions, and that's it. It's all about the decision making, like you said. Well, it's really very similar to starting out trying to be a deliberate conscious creator, and then you just, like you said, you kind of get into the flow of it. You don't even really think about what's my latest decision, which one do I prefer? Do I prefer A or do I prefer B? You just kind of start going with A or B, and oh yeah, well it's B, no it's A now, and it's B here, and it's A here, and you just kind of go with it after a while. It just becomes natural. Why? Because you repeated the pattern over and over again of deciding I am going to deliberately choose between A and B instead of letting default be my guide.
And not deliberately choosing based on which feels better.
And what
that
feels
based
better.
Based on the emotion guiding you, yeah. And
what is it, do you think, that makes emotion such a big part? Why is that such a big deal to focus on that?
Well, it's the big deal because the statement Abram says, a human getting what they want is the most satisfying thing a human can get, and a human not getting what they want is the most unsatisfying thing that they could ever do. So you're now got a mechanism that is telling you how to get to what you want, and that is powerful. That is so powerful. You now got something inside you that is individually tailored for your wants. And it's saying, this way or that way. And that is why it's so important, because I want to feel good. I want to feel the best I possibly can. And to do that, I need to go to where I need to get what I want.
Astrid, I'm going to ask you, why do you think it is that we humans have a tendency to periodically get into the zone, into that groove where everything is working and everything feels good and we're just zooming from one to the next and so forth, and then we trip on something and for some reason we can't get it back? Why can't we get it back? I mean, we were doing it. We were there. We were actually in that zone, and then we lost it. Like, where did it go?
I think it's the mind. We start thinking about it. If we start thinking about something, then we kind of stop our enjoyment of what's just happening. It's kind of, you say, Louis, by default, we are, everything is fine by default. But then our brain starts working and our brain starts observing, what is going on, and I don't like what I'm seeing, and I don't like what I'm seeing, and I don't like what I'm seeing. So look at something else. But that's how you get out of this groove. Look at something else. Look at something that is pleasing rather than something that is not pleasing. Because when you look at something that is not pleasing, your brain goes into overactive mode. And very often our brain is, we have to get out of our own head. We have to get out of our heads to feel better. Because our brain can be our biggest enemy. It's a very, very great tool to have, but it can be our biggest enemy, and it can cause incredible mischief and misery. And the way to get out of it without having to think too much about it is to hold the thumb. And to stop that brain activity is to hold the thumb.
How interesting that something so simple as holding a thumb is going to make that kind of a difference, because a lot of people will tell you that's the hardest kind of train to slow down, is the one that's been going on that wrong track for a long time. And yet you just gave the simplest solution in the world for overcoming it.
Well, it's one of the solutions, but holding the thumb just gives you, just slows down that train, and then you can look at something else. So that's what it does, because when you're on that train going 100 miles an hour, it's very difficult to get off.
Kind of like trying to get the top off of a shaker that you want to refill.
Absolutely.
The same kind of idea,
so
right?
it's slowing down that train, and then you can refocus, or then you can choose something else on that emotional guidance system ladder.
So Astrid, the reason why you land up going down the other shoe has fallen route is because you've got this belief structure that, things can't always go well for me. I've got to pay a price.
Yeah, a lot of it is that. Yeah.
And all of that is old programming.
It is,
which I
very
can
much
tell
so.
you it's not that difficult to set all that stuff aside and still continuously focus on, everything, if not that, something better, even if you're just mantraing that all the time for anything, I bought a little holder for my lovely phone, for the car, but I based it on when I was searching Amazon. Some advertising for them.
That's okay. We don't have sponsors. We're okay with saying stuff like that.
So Amazon needs to pay me for this now, don't they?
We're working on that.
So I
focus, Louis. Focus. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Next week I'll be paid. So I was going through this, and you often look at the reviews, don't you? So this didn't have a lot of reviews. It was fairly new, but my instinct said, go with this. So I went with it. And, oh, my God, it's like silk. You just take it, and it's got a little sensor. You push it in, and it automatically opens, clips it, and closes it. And there's just a one-touch button, and it'll let it go. And it's wireless charging as well. So you just put it in your car. It's automatically charged. There's no cables on the phone because it's connected to the docking station. So you just put it in, and it's gentle. It's easy. It looks very attractive. So, yeah, I just love it. It's just, this is absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
It's got the new cable, the USB Type-C, which I love.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, Apple people will never understand.
No,
I love it.
One of the things, we would, going back slightly to what you're saying as well, Louis, but we get into this funk and this sort of groove, but then we want people to confirm that we're right about being in this funk and being in this groove. So we go out. I see it all the time. I don't go out and do it anymore, but people do. They go out and they start talking to you, and they want you to agree with them that, oh yeah, it's raining, it's awful. Oh yeah, life is just miserable, and it's such a miserable day. And of course in the UK we talk a lot about the weather, so we do. It's a
favorite topic.
Oh, it's such a pants day, as they say here. It's a terrible day, and it's raining and it's awful. And I'm like, no, I love it. I wouldn't want it to be sunny all the time. I love the rain, I love the change, and I love the differences. And
he's putting up the sign of the cross.
The cross.
It's it's just
Stay away from me, Astrid. Stay away from me.
It's just to illustrate a point. It's just to illustrate
You're too
a point.
positive for me.
Oh, yes, exactly. Well, so it's that kind of thing. So it's people want this confirmed that they're miserable and they're right to be miserable, and it can escalate from the weather to the pain in my knee to
Donald Trump,
whatever to
Brexit,
well, okay, let's not get political. But
actually, I have learned something about politics, which is it's generally not a good idea for most people to pay any attention to politics because their vibration levels aren't high enough that they can actually handle any amount of it. But if you are going to pay at least some attention to it, at least take a little time to learn how to laugh at it. Because one of the greatest skills you can develop is the skill of not being affected by it, of just being indifferent to the whole thing.
Well,
and
it's very entertaining.
It is. It's crazy how entertaining.
What's going on here is extremely entertaining. I mean, it's.
I mean, most movies don't have as much drama as politics has these days. When you really come down to it,
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, but it's a great skill to have of just not being sucked into it. In fact, I wanted to ask you guys. I'm finding more and more these days that when I do run into that kind of person you were talking about, Astrid, the kind who is constantly down on stuff and they're trying to suck you in to their thing about being down on stuff and so forth. And I mean, I run into somebody like that, or I see somebody behaving that way on a television program, or I read about somebody who's behaving like that. I lose interest so quickly. I mean, really, really fast. It's like, it's probably one of the few times that my wife and I disagree because she loves watching all kinds of dramatic stuff on television. And I'll watch with her just so that we can have something to do together. But she's constantly checking to see, have I lost my attention to, has the television lost me? Not that I fall asleep, but usually I'm gazing off at something else or whatever. And she can tell I'm gone. It's like I've completely lost interest in whatever the program is. It happens all the time to me. I was wondering, do you guys run into anything like that where it's just so antithetical to where you think that you just don't even want to spend any time or attention on something like that?
Well, Walt, I can explain that. Let's create a scenario. Recently, my daughter has been going to a lot of birthday parties, the 4-year-old, 3-year-old. She just turned 4. Now, I created a birthday party. Now, the creches are new moms, new kids, new environment, so nobody knows anybody. So they do probably what we did, is you give the creche teachers a couple of leaflets that have got the party information and say, hand it out to her closest friends and walk away. So you don't know who you're going to or what's going to happen or what's happening. So I thought it was all really interesting, the whole dynamic, because I went to a couple of these birthday parties and I was thinking, I'm really not enjoying the vibration of the individuals here. It's not feeling right. I didn't have anybody come up to me and talk negative or anything, but it just like, I feel like a fish out of water. And it was very interesting because when I said to the teacher, hand it out to her close buddies and all the rest of it, I just put out the image that the right people will come at the right place, the right time, and and my phone wasn't working correctly, so I didn't get a lot of the text messages of who was coming and who wasn't. So we had really no idea. Phones. We thought only it's actually all my fault. Can't blame Android. I have to put my hand up there.
Oh, well, you had to do it. You had to do it.
Alex King is constantly on me because she doesn't like what she calls fruit phones, and so she's constantly supporting the Android phone like Louis uses. So I figured I got to get our counterpunches.
My brother is very Apple, and I'm very Android, and we have had this ding dong for years now. We've now just enjoyed it totally. It's a lot of fun to do the Android Apple bash.
What happened?
So what happened was. We thought only 2 people were coming, actually physically spoke to them. So I knew these people and, they're great. So, hey, 2 people come, that's fine. I don't mind. And then I realized that a whole lot of texts had come through and I hadn't seen them and a whole lot of people rocked up. And we had the most delightful, amazing bunch of people with incredible conversation. And it was one person who sent a message to, don't have your address anymore. And because I didn't see that text, I only saw it later, I couldn't say to them, this is the address. So they were excluded by the universal law of attraction. And it just turned out to be such a beautiful day. It was such an amazing time with everybody. It was just perfect. And I was like, wow, the vibration of them choosing the people and the vibration of me choosing my people and all the problems, which to me actually were solutions, my Android phone being very good to me as far as the law of attraction is concerned.
Wait for Android.
But you start looking at it from a vibrational perspective now. You don't look at it from an Android perspective. So, I really, really enjoyed, it was it Saturday? 2 days ago that everybody was here. And it was really, really fun.
That's so nice. Yeah.
And it describes very nicely what happens, too, because when you're not terribly interested in what other people are trying to draw you into, and you end up refocusing on what you do want, oh my God, you get what you want.
Exactly. And, some of the same people who were in the other group, well, actually, it's interestingly enough, the people that I did like, that I gravitated to, they were the ones who immediately told me they were coming, and their messages got through because they used WhatsApp and not text. So I got all the WhatsApp messages, but I didn't get the text message. But never mind. It was just interesting how it all fell into place. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. I'm really getting a hang of this law of attraction thing. It's like, it's really flowing. It's really working very beautifully. So, the window cleaning guy today as well. It's like, there's another thing. It's another thing that's just working. And, it just goes on. I was like, what's next? What's next?
Well,
Can't wait.
So cool about what you're describing, about what your experience has been lately, because very often someone who's teaching law of attraction will urge people to count their blessings, count what's going right, reorient attention to the good feeling stuff, and as an antidote to the bad feeling stuff, the stuff that doesn't feel good. But you get to a point, and it's the point you have since surpassed, if you will, where you don't even have to count blessings anymore. You're just focusing on what you like. It isn't even an act that you have to consciously, I'm going to count my blessings. I'm going to focus on what I really like right now. You got past all that. And it's just it's like driving the car unconsciously. You don't even have to think about, am I turning the wheel? Am I shifting the gears? Am I hitting the brakes? Am I hitting the accelerator? It's just not part of the conversation.
It's just beautifully smooth downhill now. The pushing uphill is finished, the flat is finished, but now you're on that roll. So you can go on a roll downhill, and you can go. What I mean is, you can go on a down spiral, negative spiral roll, or you can go on a down spiral positive trip. And both of them can be downhill and can be fast. So, it's rare, for me to bump into these people you're talking about who talk about the weather negatively or talk about this negatively. It just doesn't happen in my life anymore. I don't bump into those people. It just doesn't happen. Even when I was at these parties that the other people organized, I had good conversations with the nicer people, even though I didn't feel comfortable with some of the other ones. And I started to think I should feel comfortable with them because they're just learning, they're just growing. It's got nothing to do with me. I just keep my modes in my own business, and I'll find the right people, right place, right time. And it's just fun. You just start seeing that no matter where you are or what the situation is or who's around you, people will come to you with a similar vibration and will be able to communicate with you at that time where you are. So you are the one who are creating your reality. You're the one who is leading the way from your life and your direction and your design. And you start taking a little more conscious perspective on what do I want and where do I want to go, and I'm just a little clearer, spending more time thinking about it. And when you're in that expectation vibration, you're just like, it's just delicious. It's just, lick your
now
lips.
a lot of people are. What about the people that are trying to, they know about the law of attraction. They know about sort of what I want. This is what I want, and this is how I want to feel. And they're trying to, and then they get a sense of, say, for instance, I don't know, they go somewhere, a business meeting or something, and they're really trying to get an outcome. And they're psyching themselves up, they're being really positive, but then it doesn't really happen the way that they want it to, and they get discouraged. So they understand the law of attraction. There are a lot of people in this position where the tipping point hasn't happened, so they understand it, but it's not really gelling for them.
For sure. That happens to a lot of people. I've experienced that. I think everybody I've ever talked to on the program has experienced that. So you're right. It's a ubiquitous problem. It's everywhere.
Yes. Yes. And I suppose even when you are in I mean, there are instances where I suppose it happens, but you're saying, Louis, that you're always, I mean, you get to the point where you're always in the flow.
You're more positively in a flow, but you're still playing with contrast. So I'm playing from hope to expectation. I'm still playing with contrast. It's just not mostly on the negative side anymore.
Okay. So you've gone up the ladder.
So what you're trying to say is, how do you help people who are lower down on the vibrational scale with their challenges, and then the right people will come to them on the right podcast, or the right person on the podcast will come to them talking about that level where they're at and how to move forward with it. So everybody's going to draw the right teacher to them. And that's all going to work out perfectly, even if you like it or not, if you believe it or not, it's going to happen. Because you're vibrating X and you're going to get X. So the thing that I like doing is I create this positive expectation and vibe, and I talk about these things, and I do it on purpose because people need to know that you can get there and stay there to a degree. And move forward and even higher up the scale. I mean, there's guys I've been listening to on YouTube that are way above me. I mean, like in the clouds. They just make where I'm at look really stupid. So there's always another step and another step and another step and another step. And I'm just excited about maintaining a very happy step and going a little bit further, and then just going a little bit further. And I know that if I keep on focusing on that, the law of attraction is going to raise my vibration a little bit more, and I'm going to be moving from expectation to what's the next one up the scale, Walt? You've got that chart next to you. What's above expectation? Hope, expectation, and I haven't even focused on it yet. That's how bad I am. I need to actually dig that out and have a look at the next one. But there is a huge gap between hope and expectation vibrationally.
Yes.
And I'm just really enjoying playing with that at the moment. So
I think you're probably close to joy or happiness or laughter.
I think that's probably the next one. Yeah, joy.
Well, joy is the first one. That's the highest one.
Yeah,
is it? Oh, it's the highest one. Oh.
That I do know. But I think it's the same thing. I think it's the same thing with Jinshin Jitsu. It's like the more you practice, the more you lower your resistance to all these sort of I say negative emotions, but the emotions that are more uncomfortable to feel. So, it's another tool in the kit to work with that. I think
there's also there's another factor, because you've emphasized a few times now, Louis, the importance of feeling it, of focusing on what feels good and choosing what feels better to you than something else, and so on. And that feeling component is really, really important. I think a lot of people understand that now within LOA circles. One place that I know has tripped me up in the past, and probably has tripped other people in the past, is you start to try to focus on what you prefer and what feels good to you. And no matter what the topic is, it doesn't really matter what the topic is, you're focusing on it, you're trying to feel the feel good, you're trying to find what feels good and stick with it and so forth. And it's there, but the feeling is so minimal. And you start to wonder, well, geez, what is it going to take to, build this up into something bigger? Now, there's a little voice inside that says, well, just keep going. You'll get there. But in the meantime, it's possible to get yourself frustrated because, well, it's just not building fast enough.
Well, you know what Abrams says about people wanting things? He says, you don't want enough. I want an extra £1,000 a month. Like, go for 1 million. You'll get excited then. Then you'll start getting excited. But don't start just like, I want a little bit more, all the rest of it. Mm. So,
well, it can also work the other way around too, though. I mean, because I've experienced this where, yes, okay, I'm going to go for the gusto. I'm going to go for the really big one, but it's so big I can't even believe it, so I can't even get that feeling going. And so now I start to feel like, well, okay, I can't get the feeling going with the big item. I can't get the feel. I can't seem to get the feeling going in a big way anywhere. What am I doing wrong? Oh my God!
So Walt, I would do this. So £1,000, £1 million. Okay, so 1,000's not exciting me too much. 1 million is scaring me. So let me see if 2,000 or 10,000 or something works. So I would just use my emotions. Where does it feel better? And I'd go for it.
That's a good point, yeah, because you don't have to be limited to just those two options. It can be somewhere in there. Just try different price points, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, I've experienced in the last few months. I've experienced how to manifest things that I want like that. But they are things that I'm not emotionally attached to. Really,
yes.
It's like I send out a real lightning bolt of I want that, and there's no resistance. There's no resistance in me or anything, and then I just forget about it. And within, I mean, it's just so ridiculously. It just works.
I remember that jacket you told me about.
Yeah, well, the jacket, but raffles like first prize in a raffle. I want that, and then I just leave it and. My number comes up, and, but if I wanted to, and I would want to, manifest £1 million or whatever, but it's like, that's never going to happen. There's that resistance. There's that resistance. But I'm learning how to feel how it feels to have no resistance and manifest something like immediately. And Abraham does say that it's as easy to manifest a button as it is a castle. So not that I want a castle, but it's the feeling. It's the feeling. It's that laser jet thought that just, I want that. That's what I want that. And it happens. It happens.
So Astrid, the whole thing about LOA and understanding it and believing it and moving forward with it is this. You start with those things of low resistance. I just want a pencil. No resistance to getting a pencil or not getting a pencil. So let's focus on a pencil. And then somebody lands up giving you a pencil. And then you're like, oh, okay, that works. Let's go a cup of coffee. And then you start realizing that it's all about thinking about it. The universal law of attraction, taking the thought, magnifying it, and helping it manifest. And that's it. It's game over. It doesn't matter what it is. So you start trusting. And if you want to know what faith is really about, it's believing that this happens, that this process happens. That's all faith's about. There's nothing else that's involved with faith. Faith is all about knowing that if you focus on something, you can manifest it. So you start having faith, if you want to use that word. You start having faith that this process actually works. This is how the universe works. And it's so frigging simple. And then you start saying, okay, right, I'm going to put it in practice. All right, and start believing it. Oh, actually, I'm going to start living it. I'm going to really start enjoying it now. I'm going to expect good things to happen. And if not that, something better. And so it just rolls and rolls and rolls. And so you start realizing that, again, all that's happening is you're thinking about what you want. The universal law of attraction is with less resistance or even excitement.
Yes.
Positiveness, which will not only get it out there and get it expanded quicker and get it to you quicker, So, it's just weird. It's how it all works. because Abrams says, yeah, it's easier to still the mind and lower resistance than it is to focus on what you want. But there comes a point where certain level of things that you're comfortable with, it's very easy to focus on them and just get them.
Yes.
Just focus on them and get them, and just focus them and get them. And then your belief kicks in. It's like, oh, this is actually how it works, and I'm going to go and manifest this, and I really feel like I want that. And, this needs to be fixed, and, let's change that. And my boiler gets changed for free, and this happens.
Well,
and
it's
that
reinforcing. It's reinforcing. It's reinforcing.
It is. And that's what faith's about. You start understanding this is how it works, and let's go. And it's so simple. It's devastatingly simple.
While you were talking there, I was thinking about the answer you gave to my previous question, and the answer was, instead of worrying about $1 million or 5 or 2 extremes like that, just keep feeling at different price points and see what.
So what's the
best.
answer, Walt? What's the answer?
Well, it's going to be different for every person.
What's yours?
It's mine. I haven't.
I thought you were doing it. That's what you're going to tell us.
No. I was looking at it from the perspective of how does that work as a tool. In other words, as I zero in on what it is, which one of those price points feels best to me.
Well,
what's really happening is that I am literally going back to the rule of what feels good to me, rather than trying to think about it in terms of, well, do I have to build up enough faith, or am I focusing in the right way, or am I focusing on the right vibration? No. Which one feels better? That's what you pointed out at the beginning of the show. That's really the whole exercise right there. Well, I think you very nicely and very quickly blew through a lot of the paradigms I think that people set up for ourselves. We set up these paradigms they're paradigms for failure. They're paradigms for frustration. Paradigms for beating ourselves up because we didn't quite get there fast enough and so forth. When all we have to do is just, change the way we're thinking about the paradigm, break it up into a larger number of choices and say, which one of them feels better over here? It doesn't have to be that one way over on that right side. It doesn't have to be that one way on the left side. How about one of these over here in the middle?
And it's also conditioning. It's conditioning passed down from, generations and generations.
Paradigm and conditioning from generations to generations, it's nothing more than other people's thoughts, which you've taken on board, which is your thoughts. So really, you need to simplify it. You need to understand that these fancy words like paradigm and, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree concept, none of those are anything other than a thought, which was somebody else's, which you probably took on board because you were brought up with that thought process. And that's it. And that's it. So it's a thought. It's not some evil force or some whatever. It is just a thought. And when you start getting that, it's like, I'm going to think about what I want, and let's go. It's simple.
If not that, something better. I like that.
Something better. Yeah, it's very.
That's
very
really
powerful.
simple. I'm going to do that for a week, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, well, we're going to hold you to that next. At this time, we're going to ask you. So, how did it go for the past week? Focusing on, if not that, then something better.
Okay.
All right, that sounds good. Hey, before we go, I want to remind everybody who are not yet subscribers, which is actually only about 10 to 15% of our listeners, but for that 10 or 15%, please become subscribers. You're going to love it. 5 days a week, we do 5 different kinds of shows with 5 different sets of co-hosts. Every time it's a different topic. It's all the same topic. I mean, all of it is about the law of attraction, but then again, the law of attraction is about life. So really, all of our topics are about life from about 20 different perspectives that change from moment to moment, and that's what makes the show so much fun. So become a subscriber. Go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net, or just whatever platform you use to listen to podcasts. If you're already a podcast listener of some kind, just do a search for us on iTunes or Google Play or Spotify or any of the other platforms that are out there, and we'll pop up. We're on all the major ones and most of the minor ones, but if you can't find us, just go to the homepage, loatoday.net, and walk through the steps 1, 2, 3, and you'll be a subscriber. And by the way, feel free to also subscribe to us on YouTube, where you get to watch us and see us with our happy, smiling faces as we're doing these shows, and listen to us that way. You can even listen to us live streaming, because we record to a live stream on YouTube while we are recording the podcast. So feel free to go to YouTube and subscribe there, and click the little bell so you get notified every time that we do a new show. And with that thought in mind, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love the fact that you guys take the time in the evening, because it's evening time in London, to come do the show every Monday. So thank you very much.
How did I know you were going to say that, Walt? I just knew it just before you said it. I was just kind of reading your mind. I was like, I know Walt's going to bring this up now, and it's like, oh, there it is. It's like, cool. We're on. We're connected, Walt.
I think you've done too many shows, guys. Too many shows together.
Astrid. I think we haven't done enough. We haven't done enough. There's much more to be done.
I know. It's great fun. Thanks for having me on.
We're going to do every single one of them. And we're glad to have you along. I love the way you've just kind of slid in there as the third co-host on the Monday show. So that's great. So thank you very much for that, too. So thank you, guys. Thank you to our podcast listeners as well. And we will see you all next time here on Goodbye, everybody.
Cheers, everybody. Bye.
Bye.